Welcome to Marketing Labs. This podcast is brought to you by Marketing Labs, an expert digital marketing agency based in Nottinghamshire. If you're a business owner or marketing professional looking for straightforward, non-salesy tips and advice to help grow your business online, then this podcast is for you. Strap in because we're about to reveal the things that other agencies would rather you didn't know. Hello, and welcome to episode 21 of Marketing Blabs. I'm your host, Tom, and today we're diving into local SEO. Local SEO is essential for businesses that want to be found by customers in their geographic area. Whether you're a small business owner looking to attract local clients or a marketer aiming to boost a company's presence in local search results, this episode is for you. We'll discuss techniques, strategies, and best practices to help you optimize your local SEO efforts. On today's podcast, I have with me our head of digital, Nick Janaway. How you doing, Nick?
All right, Tom.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
You look like you are ready.
Yeah.
Fully.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I am as well.
Yeah.
We also have, alongside myself and Nick, Tilly Hayes, our SEO executive. How you doing, Till?
Good, thanks. You, Tom?
Yeah? Just had a bit of a laughing fit earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can edit that snort out.
No, keep it in. Shazza, keep it in, please.
Yeah, keep the snort in. Everyone needs to understand the real authentic snort of Till.
Okay.
Okay.
Of Till.
Right, let's get started. We'll talk about local SEO. So, who wants to go first on this one? What is local SEO and why is it important for businesses? I'll let you start, Till.
Okay, so the most basic definition of local SEO is optimising your site to be recognisable in local search. So if someone's searching for a particular service or business in your area, you would hope that you'd be ranking highly for that search, whereas traditional SEO is on a nationwide basis or a global basis.
Yeah, so it's either international or national,
Yeah.
not. Where does the geographic area end now? Do you think it's like in a specific radius or?
It depends on lots of things, to be honest. It's too dynamic. But broadly speaking, when you're looking for something with a local intent, you might be looking for a map, for example, or a listing or a business listing or a contact number of a business, or you might be looking for something that can only be used locally, so you might be searching for a local cafe, for example. So in those instances where you are looking for food or whatever it might be, you don't want somewhere that's 30 or 40 miles away. You want somewhere that's pretty close, obviously within whatever range you're looking in. So yeah, it's just about how you handle that information and make sure that you place yourself in the best position to kind of answer that query when someone's looking for something relevant.
Yeah, everyone is conscious of having a local search every now and again, like pizza restaurant in
all the time,
Sheffield.
yeah. All the time, yeah. It could be anything. You know, it could be opening hours of your local business, or it could be a takeaway. It could be anything. Yeah, so you probably do it 5 or 10 times a day without even thinking about it.
Would you say that businesses with specific locations are going to be more benefited from performing local SEO? So let's say we've obviously got an office in Retford, so we want potentially people to find us in Retford, but we're not restricted to just working in Retford like a sandwich shop down the road would be.
Yeah.
So how's that differ?
It depends on the market, to be honest with you, and what industry your business sits within. So some businesses are only local. Like say a cafe is just going to get local clientele, unless you are a nationwide business and have lots of different local cafes. Florists, for example, is another one. You're probably going to go to your local florist. You might occasionally do it online. There might be a national service that can deliver flowers for you, but you're probably going to go somewhere local. But so it depends on your type of business. Lots of businesses can have both. Lots of businesses can have like a local presence and a national presence, depending on what it is that they offer. But certainly some businesses will overly rely on local more than others.
I was going to say as well that it's not always the location name itself that will make someone rank. I saw an interesting stat, which is like the near me searches have increased by 250% over the past like 6 or 7 years.
That's interesting.
But I think it comes down to IP addresses as well, doesn't it? Sometimes can be a bit volatile, can't they? Which is not that accurate sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of signals that go into it, and I suppose ultimately, it's kind of a qualifier for trust as well. If you know somewhere's local, even if you're ordering online or doing something online, if you know they're local, you can get to them. Probably friends that might have used that service. It's kind of it's a way of understanding whether you can kind of validate and verify that business is trustworthy and usable. And if you can do that, a local qualifier usually is a good way to get that feedback.
All right, nice. So you mentioned local SEO and traditional SEO being quite different. Would you say that local SEO just basically forms as one pillar of SEO?
Yes, they do differ, but the way that it differs is mostly in the intent. So someone looking for a local query will be looking for something that's very close to them.
Yeah.
SEO, broadly speaking, is looking for something that is relevant to them still, but it doesn't necessarily have to be local. So as long as you can answer that query for somebody, you've potentially got a good opportunity to rank well for them. Whereas if you're looking for something local, realistically, only a local business or a service locally will kind of fulfill that criteria. Does that make sense? But in terms of the process of optimizing for it, it's broadly similar. You will do fairly similar things in terms of your marketing. You might want to, for example, maximize your opportunity across local keywords, as Tilly mentioned earlier. So make sure that you have content on your website, for example, for XYZ, service or product, whatever it is, in your local area, and make sure you mention your area. Make sure you talk about why you're situated in that area, how long you've been present in the area, what your address is, what your contact information is. There'll be lots that you can talk about that kind of localizes your business. And making sure that you really kind of emphasize that within the content and make sure your content is high quality and answering people's questions in and around that. You've got a great opportunity to rank for what it is that your business offers and your locality.
I know you spoke quite recently, Tilly, didn't you, about Google My Business and how that's probably the best way of getting a local presence, and it's free as well. Obviously, anyone can create some local pages and put the content together, but probably working with an agency is going to be better for optimizing it. But just talk through some of the steps of how easy it is to set up a Google My Business and what does that entail really?
Yeah, so Google My Business is definitely like the easiest way that anyone with a business or services can help promote it locally. I think when it gets into sort of trying to do your own content, it can get quite difficult and people can kind of slip up. But with Google My Business, it basically talks you through the entire process step by step. So you start by adding your business name, website URL, the correct address so that you are going to come up in Google Maps results. Choose things like your primary business category, add up-to-date images, opening hours, contact details. You can also add a description about your business as well.
You can also add photos as well, just to give people an idea. Like if you're a store or you've got a shop, you can take a photo of the front so that if someone's going to come and visit you, they sort of have an idea of what it looks like straight away. So then they're going to get to you quicker. Yeah,
especially things like products or team photos. Like we've got a good team photo on ours, haven't we? And it really sort of invites people into your business.
It's trust signals as well, isn't it? Like, some ways a legitimate business, images so they can see what your business looks like, where they can find you on the map, what street view might look like, what the inside of your premises looks like, so if that's something that's relevant. It might even be how you navigate in and around the business if it's quite a big location. You might have certain products or, somewhere that you can kind of help almost waypoint people to, 360 tours and that sort of thing. It's not so much, it used to be a bit bigger, I suppose that did, but it's not so much of a thing now, but obviously it's still available in certain places. So there's lots that you can do with that in order to kind of demonstrate kind of your business and show people that, that you are a trustworthy, option for somebody.
Speaking of trust as well, it's also the place where you see the reviews immediately when you're searching for a business. And also if you're short on reviews, there's a section where you can ask for reviews as well when someone's used a product or service, which is really helpful.
Yeah, that's quite helpful actually. I think just using ours as an example, our Google My Business profile, like you said, it's good for us to add photos of the team, photos of our offices so that people can see that we've got a physical office, but who works there, what we do, and things like that. But like you say, a restaurant might show some pictures of the food. It's just a placeholder straight away so people can see it without even maybe having to click on the website.
Yeah, I mean, they get a feel for the business, don't they? Like, especially for restaurants, because if you're not sure, if you've never been there, you don't know anyone that's been there, you get a feel for a place. You look to understand what the food might look like, what the decor might look like, whether it's quite fancy. You might have a link to the menu, for example, so you can understand pricing. You might have information on there about how to book a table, what the opening times are. There's so much information that you can put in there that's relevant to people, that will aid people kind of inquiring, I suppose, depending on what the service is that you offer.
Is the verification process quite simple? It used to be that they'd send you a letter out or something, wasn't it? And then you had to put a code in to verify that you were there. Is it still the same now? Or?
In theory, it's quite simple. You just have to add evidence of tax certificate
Yeah,
or
a
proof
registration.
of operations. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair enough. And then you could just upload that to the portal.
Yeah. Usually it takes about 7 working days to come through.
So it's quite a simple platform to manage as well. Can you add multiple locations?
Usually the best way to do it will be to have a dedicated listing for each location.
Yeah.
Because then that the relevant one will be served when someone's looking for that local intent.
That makes sense. I'm just trying to think for anyone who's listening who might have multiple shops or locations that they can do that.
Yeah, I can think of one of the clients, to be fair.
Cloud Tech is a good example, actually. They've got Dubai, London. I think they've even got a couple more, haven't they?
I think they've got 4 profiles, I think. Something like that on there.
Nice.
I mean, it's especially important if your customer has to travel to you, to make sure that you're maximising your presence. So, not only so people can find you in search, but also find you when they need to navigate to, that location.
Yeah.
So, if you are a physical outlet that requires your customers to come to you, you definitely need to make sure you have all of your businesses listed on Google My Business. Also Bing, we didn't talk about that earlier, but there's lots of these places or platforms that, you should be registering and making sure your information's kind of verified on.
No, that makes sense. It's definitely worthwhile any business setting up a Google My Business profile then. Tilly, you actually did a short on that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You just started recently. Short number 32, Google My Business Tips.
Yeah, full processes on there.
Nice. So if anyone wants to go and listen to that, go ahead. So I guess businesses could conduct local keyword research to create local pages, but they might not understand the whole process of what needs to go into that process. So if they did want to expand the content on the website for more local keyword-based searches, what would the best approach for that be, do you think?
It can be quite complex and it can be quite straightforward depending on, the business. So if it's quite a simple service that your business offers and it's in one location, for example, conducting that research will be quite straightforward. You might go to Google Ads, for example. They could do a free keyword research tool in there that you might search for whatever your business is relevant for, whatever product or service, and then look at location-based terms around that. So it might be that can bring up a lot of keywords potentially for you. But obviously there's potentially a much more complex, more thorough requirement as well. So if your business is quite complex and has lots of different services and your business has lots of different locations on top of that, mapping out that content can be quite difficult because you potentially got hundreds or thousands of iterations of how do you map this against this and where does that sit within the site hierarchy or architecture. So depending on kind of where your business sits within that, it might be okay for you, but actually it might be quite complex. And pulling together a detailed strategy around that can be quite helpful at times. So you really get to understand what the requirements are, what the demand for that opportunity is, and how you're going to tackle that, what content's required, whether that's going to be cannibalized by anything else that you're also looking to produce. And, you potentially could end up with quite a messy architecture if you don't do it properly, which ultimately probably won't work very well. So yeah, you do definitely need to think about how you're going to kind of position your content and what service or how you're going to answer those questions that people have.
Yeah.
It can be quite difficult as well if you've not got specific location pages already set up. So you might need an agency to help you with that, or I guess a starting place could be that you've got location-based content on things like the Contact Us page and About Us page, rather than just stuffing it here, there and everywhere across the whole site.
Yeah, I guess that's the main problem is people might start keyword stuff in certain locations. For example, let's just use London as example. I know traditionally people might have created like a template page as a post type and just created loads of different locations, but every page has the same content apart from just the location word.
Yeah.
That's not great, is it?
No, that's bad, yeah.
It's
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. The best way is to create multiple pages with unique content on each.
You need to be able to answer people's questions. So as long as you're answering people's questions in a way that makes sense and offers genuine answers to whatever that query is, then you're probably going to fare quite well. So that's the best way to start. But as you described there, it's offering no value to people. It's just boilerplate information that's probably not very valuable.
Yeah.
Even if it's done very well, it's still probably not as good as a bespoke answer to whatever solutions that you need to offer, for that query. But there are ways around that without getting into the details of it. But you really need to think about how your content exists on the site and what kind of purpose it has, and how you answer people's questions and what value it has in answering people's questions. And as long as you feel you're doing that in a positive way, you've probably got a decent chance of ranking.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, if you're thinking about how you can sort of formulate your keywords on a page. A good way that you can do that is start by identifying the core terms that you might want to kind of merge with these location keywords. So for example, the core term could be something like hairdresser or hairstylist. From there, there's something called like a modifier phrase where you can add in the location. But sometimes people make the mistake of making them sound quite unnatural. So they would just add like near me when it doesn't really fit in a sentence.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure it's as seamless as possible, as with all content, really.
I think that's the hardest part, is getting the keywords into a naturally readable form of text rather than just saying, like you said, hairdresser near me, like just crammed in.
Yeah.
I mean, near me in that context just doesn't work, does it? Because you don't know where that customer is to start. And also near me, it's kind of irrelevant, it's meaningless. So in those types of queries, you really want to let Google My Business or Bing places kind of answer those queries. And they'll provide a listing of all the local hairdressers. And then obviously you might need to compete with a few in terms of either who's the closest or who's the best, or it might be reviews, for example, or it might be that actually one profile has better information in there, more convenient opening hours, whatever it might be. But there'll be things that you need to compete with for those listings. But typically when someone's searching for a near me thing, you just need to let Google answer that question for you, because just adding near me content on the website is not going to do any good.
Yeah,
it's meaningless, essentially.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times before as well, and it's just like scattered all over the page, and it's
just
not
near
good.
me. It's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Let's say there's an example. I'm going to give an example now. Let's say we've got a tyre fitting company, and they've got a location in Basingstoke and Derby, for example. Just come off the top of my head. Let's say you were going to conduct some keyword research for the client for them to write the content. How would you go about that process?
Start by using keyword tool like Nick mentioned, Google Ads Keyword Planner or Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever it is. Start by building up a list of location keywords surrounding that. So I would put in core terms into the planner, maybe like Basingstoke tyre companies, tyre repairs, things like that, all associated with the area, and see what's got good volume. It's not too difficult to rank because they've got a difficulty score on there. And then think about how I can integrate that into the page. So something like, we're a tyre company in Basingstoke, or something like that, something that sounds as natural as possible.
I guess that's where the beauty of working with a content writer who can take those keywords and make them sound natural. But I was just trying to paint a picture for people in terms of what sort of process we take. Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of ways of trying to achieve that. You need to find a process, I suppose, that works for you and your business, because each business will have a unique, to some degree, set of keywords. But you could also look at competitors. For example, you could check the maps, for example, to see how many, or even search for different locations that might exist, towns and cities in and around your area or county, just to understand kind of what the population density is, whether it's worthwhile targeting, and then you can build those into your keyword list as well. So it might be that if people are searching for tyres X, Y, Z, in the highest density populations in and around your county, that might be a good way of kind of building them out. But there's lots of ways of doing that and getting to the list. But I suppose the most important qualifier really is making sure that ultimately the service is the most relevant to what it is that you're offering. The location obviously will be relevant as well, but it will only be relevant to people in your location anyway. So as long as you offer your core service and that's the most valuable part of your business, a lot of the time Google will kind of recognise that, and then it's just a case of enhancing based on those location qualifiers like Till said.
Nice.
And it just reminded me as well how, say if you are in Basingstoke, which I think is a town, you don't have to limit yourself to that on a keyword, like keyword wise. You could say like Southeast or the county that you're in, you could incorporate that onto the site as well.
Yeah, interesting. Nice. So we've talked about link building before, and this pod isn't specifically about link building, but question I've got is, does Google rank you higher in the local searches if you have more local link building strategies, for example? So let's just say there's not a tyre fitting company, but you've got other businesses around Basingstoke that's linking to the tyre fitting company. Is that going to help or not?
Yeah, it depends. Obviously, the most important thing is relevancy again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and like local link building can definitely be an advantage. It's better to do that in a natural way. Rather, it's better to have that than not have that, for example. So there's lots of ways of doing that as well. It might be charities, it might be events, it might be just broad networking. You might have other business partners or associates that offer a different thing, different industry, but you support them depending on your service. There's loads and loads of ways of trying to kind of create links for your business, and it's just a case of more so, I suppose, networking with the right people, engaging with the right people. There might be charity events, or you might do something for a particular local charity or whatever it might be, and there's opportunities there where you can kind of showcase your business ultimately is what you're doing, and trying to do that in a positive way, and very often that will come with links, and the more you do that locally, the more kind of famous you are locally, if you like. That's going to have an impact, definitely.
I guess it's like partnerships as well. Using the tyre fitting example, if they don't do MOT testing, for example, they could find a local partner that they can then link to and from each other within that area.
Exactly, yeah. Referrals, like normal business activity, really. If you think of how you would normally operate a business and how you speak to people and build relationships with people, it's a similar thing for link building.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more you do that, the more kind of renowned you are, if you like, locally. And there's opportunity to link across there. And then Google and search engines aren't perfect at that, but they kind of do understand that to a degree. And obviously, that can help if you are doing that sort of activity. And if you aren't doing that activity, if you start, you probably will start to see a benefit of better rankings.
Online directories are a good one as well. So you can reach out to them, get your business details on there. It's a good way for Google to be able to verify the NAP details of your business, so name, address, phone number as well, as long as the directories aren't spammy or low quality.
Yeah.
Could be newspapers.
Yeah.
There's lots of things there, just to verify your business and your presence locally. Think about ways of doing that, really.
Guest posting as well. On local websites or people in your industry that you may want them to link back to you.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Nice. So we talked a little bit about Google My Business, best practices, local keyword research and things like that. Do we think that social media has an impact on local SEO or not?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can do. I don't think it's a direct impact necessarily on rankings, but for example, it can definitely help your brand locally.
Yeah.
You can grow your presence locally, and that will help rankings. In terms of people searching for either your brand or similar things, if it's like a compounded brand / product or service, if you've got local listings, that will take up a large amount of real estate in search as well. So, that can be a good trust signal if you've got all of your social profiles there that are verified, that link back.
Yeah.
People that might be doing some research about you, your business, what it is you offer, whether how people rate you and review you, and then looking at kind of your offering across different social channels. So it might be Instagram or whatever. If it's a visual thing, it might be Pinterest, or it could be just Facebook activity, or it could even be Google activity on business posts. All that sort of information can be really key if people are undecided about whether using your service and whether or not they want to kind of research further or actually get in contact with you. That can be vital, really, to a lot of businesses, just making sure that you update those different profiles with the relevant information.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but you can also geo-target, can't you, on things like Facebook with ads?
Yeah, social ads, you can target specific areas. So obviously I use a plumbing and heating company we work with in Kent. We've targeted specific radius around Kent and Maidstone, which is where their headquarters is, and also branching out into East Sussex as well, because they want to reach there and they can actually service that area. It's a good point in making that if they can't service that area, maybe don't think about advertising in that area, because they're just going to create a bad name for themselves. I'm not saying that this company does do that, but I'm just saying beyond that, it's because they can service in those areas. So yeah, you can geo-target up to 50 miles of a specific location or locally, or if you, like you say, if you've got multiple locations, you could have just coming back to the tyre fitting one, if you've got Basingstoke and Derby, they could have two different ad campaigns running ad set level with a Derby based campaign and a Basingstoke, and monitor that. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. You can do that in Google Ads as well, and that just supports the organic activity that people are going to do.
Does Instagram work the same as that, being Meta or not?
Yeah, it's both the same. Facebook and Instagram is all Meta now, so it's just promoted on both pages, definitely. Same with LinkedIn. You can geo-target on LinkedIn ads as well.
Yeah.
Most advertising, whether it's Google Ads, Bing Ads, Meta Ads, LinkedIn Ads, are all geo-targeting.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds obvious as well, but to mention that how important consistency is across all the channels. So if you've got, for example, a phone number on one site, you want it to be the same on everything. as obvious as it sounds.
So from a mobile perspective, from a crawlability perspective, are there any areas within that where, coming back to your NAP, I know people can put that into the metadata of images and things like that. Is there any impact that that's going to have? Or
When it comes to crawlability, it's definitely going to be easier for search engines to crawl your details if it's in the text rather than in an image. It doesn't work quite the same way. So make sure you've got it on a web page or in the footer or anything like that.
And another point actually on that we've not spoke about yet is schema markup. There's a lot of local schema markup that'll be very useful. Obviously, it depends on what it is that you need to mark up, but there'll be things that you could have in and around your business name, your address, and your phone number, for example. But there'll be locality things. There'll be things around employees, for example, if that's relevant. If you've got different employees, different employee teams in different locations, different services in different locations, you can all mark all of that up in schema, which will make it more available to pull into search if somebody's searching for that information.
Given like how many people use mobiles these days, kind of goes hand in hand with local SEO, especially with the Google My Business stuff. You want to make sure everything's fully optimised to make it as easy as possible for mobile users, primarily, over anything else.
Let's just set in a scenario. If you're walking through, I don't know, a city centre, you're just shopping around and you just want to find a coffee shop or something, you'd type that straight into Google or Google Maps, you'd find it. You might then just check that they do the kind of food that you like.
Yeah.
If not, then you'll have a look somewhere else. And if they're not relevant to you, then it comes back to that relevancy of all being optimised in one sort of platform.
Click
then,
straight on the get directions or the map and you're straight there, aren't you?
Photos of nice coffees.
Yeah, because you're not going to follow the directions on your laptop, are you? It's all on your phone, so...
Exactly.
It's not just for kind of restaurants either. There could be products that you might look for. You might think, I'm just going to head into town and I need to find this thing. Or can I just search for it, see who does it locally? Are there any stores that have this in stock? Or whatever it might be. There's lots of different use cases for mobile and making sure that you are well optimized for mobile in search, because that's somebody ultimately that's looking to buy something there and then. And if you're not in that space, then you've missed out on a sale. So it can have a massive impact on your revenue.
Yeah.
Nice. Just to wrap up then, do we think with like AI coming into play that local SEO in search is going to change at all, or do we think that it's pretty much going to be consistent to what it is now? Or
in the future it might change. I don't see it replacing anything in the short term. I don't think AI has that capability yet. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to offer a huge amount of value for local queries anyway, because you are looking for something that's very specific. So AI, for example, is not going to be beneficial for restaurants, I wouldn't have thought. There might be some odd quirks of where it might be useful that I can't think of off the top of my head, but broadly AI is to help with technology, I think, and can help users of technology, but isn't necessarily providing a service for somebody that's required locally. So maybe that'll change in the future, 10, 15 years. It might be very AI driven, but I think in the next 1 or 2 years, I don't think it'll have a huge impact.
I wonder if in the future there'll be an AI tool where it can essentially match the details on your website onto other channels.
Interesting though. Well, thank you guys. Have you enjoyed this pod?
Yeah.
I have. Been fun. Yeah. So that wraps up our episode on local SEO. In this episode, we explored all the important parts of local SEO, optimizing Google My Business and conducting local keyword research. We've also discussed some local link building strategies and the role of social media in local search. Thank you to Nick and Tilly for sharing their valuable insights, and to our listeners for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who you think might benefit from it. Until next time, this is Tom signing off from Marketing Labs. Bye.